And I didn't change clothes, there's just an air conditioning vent blowing straight on me, so it's Cowboys, sorry. Okay. Thank you, thank you. Nobody threw anything, so I think I'm okay. Wendell has been very patient. Thank you, Wendell.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. All right, Wendell, before I give you each question, I will tell you how long your answer can be, and Scott will then be the timer and let you know when your time is up. Okay, are you ready?
Ready.
All right, Wendell Bailley, you have 1 minute to answer this question. Which political leader from the past 50 years, other than Ronald Reagan, do you see as a role model?
Ronald Reagan. Can't do that. We had some very significant political leaders when I was in Congress. Phil Graham comes to mind quickly with this because he began as a conservative Democrat and voted with Ronald Reagan on the Reagan Revolution, where we cut taxes and cut spending. The Democrats kicked him out of their caucus. He could have just walked over to the Republican side of the aisle and been a Republican, that easily. But instead, he resigned from the United States Congress and went home and ran as a Republican, and the voters voted him right back into the Congress.
Right. 1 minute for your answer on this one, please, Wendell. In what specific ways would you help to support and unite the Republican Party in our district?
Well, you have to have coalitions and building coalitions. One of the real coalitions is called the Rural Caucus, and it's principally concerned with rural issues. And I think that's one of the significant problems that we have in America's today, flyover society. So you join with other people that think like you think. And we, as I said in my opening remark, believe in cutting taxes and cutting spending. And so I would join with coalitions of people who thought like that.
Okay, thank you. 2 minutes for this answer, Wendell. Given the 8th District's vulnerability to natural disasters, what would your approach be to funding for FEMA and the Army Corps of Engineers with our current budget crisis?
Well, we have, of course, vulnerability to tornadoes and also earthquakes here. But we also have another pending disaster, and that is when our national budget can no longer even pay the interest on their bill. So FEMA or the Corps of Engineers will have to live the same as every other agency in the United States government, with perhaps a small cut, perhaps just a freeze on the amount of money they get. But nobody gets a free ride in this day and age with $3 trillion of debt added every year.
2 minutes for your answer on this question as well. What is your position on reauthorizing the 2008 Farm Bill, which expired September 30th of 2012? And please be specific.
Been there, done that. I worked with Farm Bureau in passing the farm legislation in the Reagan years. Now, there's always a conflict between some of the commodities and others. There's even a wintergreen mint subsidy. There's, of course, big subsidies or controls, if you want to use those words, on major products such as cotton and major commodities like that. Now, milk just came out of and under and escaped from by an extension of the existing Farm Bill for another year. So each of those groups have their own particular emphasis that they want in the United States Congress. Then, after you get to that, you generally have to follow the advice of an umbrella group such as Farm Bureau, and I think the world of the Farm Bureau Coalition. I think they do a good job of putting together the entire spectrum of agriculture. An unusual thing about this is that the cow-calf operators and the feeder pig operators or the swine industry don't get any subsidies. They're not part of the big USDA farm bill. And I always admire the cattlemen because they don't seem to want or they don't seem to need any federal intervention in the agriculture scheme. My buddy just bought 32 cows and paid almost $2,000 a pair for cow-calf, so they're getting along okay.
All right, thank you. 2 minutes for your answer on this one, Wendell. How would you support economic development in our 8th district?
Oh, that's a terrific question. This is a poor district, a poor congressional district. The 10 counties that I live on the eastern end of this district are the 10 least educated and lowest income population in the state of Missouri. Now, those two things go together. Low incomes and low education. 27.5% of the babies that are born in Shannon County are born to mothers without a high school completion. We have to get these kids to stay in school for a high school completion, and we need to improve our vocational education system so that people can know how to make a living. Not everybody wants to go or should go to college, and we need to change that emphasis so that vocational education and staying in school mean a high priority for these children.
Wendell, this will be your final question. You will have 1 minute to answer it, okay?
Uh-oh.
Washington seems to be in gridlock. When, if ever, do you feel it's appropriate to compromise?
The time that I spent in Washington, D.C. was a time when we had a conservative agenda. Ronald Reagan won the presidency, and the people in the United States knew what he went there to do. Many times you heard him say, we're overspending. We need to cut government. You've heard people say that the employment of the federal employees is not the problem, it's the private sector jobs that we need to grow. So you can compromise, but you can't compromise on your principles of going there with a conservative agenda, and that should never be done.
All right, Wendell, that is it for the questions, but you have 1.5 minutes for your closing statement whenever you're ready.
I hope that you will listen carefully to what I have to say. You have a fine field of candidates here tonight. Every one of them a fine person. And what I'm trying to tell these good Republicans, all of you, is that we should not be selecting the congressman for the next decade, for the next 10 years or 20 years. That's not what this committee is assigned to do. The legal aspects of this committee is you are to select a candidate to replace JoAnn Emerson for the end of her term. Now, there are some people that believe that the duty is to pick somebody for the next 10 or 15 years. That's not the committee's job. That's the people of the 8th Congressional District's job. We need to have a level playing field primary without ordaining an incumbent that all of the other candidates will have to run against. That's my strong philosophy about where we are here today, and that's exactly why I'm in this race, is to carry that message forward to the people of the 8th District and of the state of Missouri. It's good for the Republican Party, It's good for the 8th District, and it's good for America. Thank you all very much for your consideration.
Wendell Bailley, thank you. Jason Smith will join us next.